And it reads, Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye should not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day that ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. You may be seated. We're going to use a title today, There's a Snake in the Garden. There's a snake in the garden. Now, whatever the garden is that you're thinking about, it's not necessarily the one that God originally created. The garden could be your jobs. The garden could be your house. The garden could be where you come to worship. But no matter where that garden is, there's a snake in the garden. Somewhere in there, there is a snake. Someone that is deceiving of what God's will is for your life. Someone that smiles in your face every day. Someone that sits on boards with you every day. They're there in the midst of you. And because you're not aware that they're there, they deceive you from right beside you. What I couldn't understand about this is that Adam was taught by God what to do and what not to do. And I'm quite sure that when Adam knew, he taught his wife the same thing. But the snake came anyway. Even though he wasn't supposed to be there, he came anyway. And he first went to Eve. And he beguiled her, and she did eat of the tree. But the problem I have is then she went to her husband. And somewhere, as men, we drop the ball on what we have been taught to do and know better. And we follow suit, doing just what we've been told not to do. I don't hear too many men today. Doing what we know not to do because we didn't want her to cry. And it, hey, just let her have it and we'll be all right. But somewhere, you messed up. Or better yet, let's rephrase that. We messed up along the way. See, Satan was in the garden. Nobody invited him in, but he came in anyhow. Satan was in the garden, and they were unaware that he was there, but he was in the midst of their promised land. Satan came into the garden without any confrontation. That's the problem I have issues with. That he just lightly walked in, caused problems, and nobody did anything about it. Whether it's on your job, at your church, whether it's at your local bingo hall where you go and play, there are problems there that nobody has confronted, but they allow him to do whatever it is he wants to do. The thing is, no one tried to put him out. No one tried not to listen to him. See, the first problem Adam had was he listened to him. He allowed him the opportunity to talk instead of busting him in his head and getting rid of him. And they were deceived of everything, and they followed a new master. There's a problem in the garden. That snake has crept in, and he's causing confusion no matter where we go. So I'm going to share a story with you. I shared it with Pastor and a couple of the deacons about a month ago on Sunday. Matter of fact, it was last fourth Sunday, come to think of it. I was laying across the bed. My wife called me and asked me if I would make a salad. So I said, okay, I'll get to it. And I laid there for a minute, and I decided, okay, let's get up and go make the salad. And so as I walked up front and I turned into the family room to go straight into the kitchen, I stopped because I saw something that I shouldn't be seeing. And I kneeled down and looked, and I said, nah, that can't be. But out of the cabinet came a snake in my kitchen. And I saw it, but I was like, no, I can't be seeing that. And my daughter said, what is it? And I said, it's a snake. She said, you serious? Yes. He came in. He wasn't invited, and we weren't aware that he was coming in. But I saw him. So what I did was I politely walked out into the garage, got me a long stick, climbed up on the counter, and waited on him to come back out. Now, when he stuck his head back out the hole, I didn't just react right away. I wanted him to get further enough in so that I wouldn't miss, or pray that I didn't miss. And when he came in, because he knew he wasn't supposed to be there, and because he knew he was in somebody else's territory, he stuck his head out with me on the counter, and he leaned back and looked up at me. And so when he looked up at me, I didn't move because I wanted him to drop his head back down. So when he dropped his head, I hit at him, but I missed. I missed. So I had to go through the cabinets trying to find him. Couldn't find him. So I hid in the cabinet. Apparently he left because I called my wife and I didn't know how I was going to tell her this, but we got a snake in the house, and I know she's just going to lose it. But she was very calm. And I was like, whoa, that's surprising. And so I said, baby, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to get me 2 of the biggest glue traps you can find. They have them at Lowe's. Turn around, go back, get them. I put the traps there, and I know why the snake was coming in. He was looking for dinner. So I stayed up all night watching the hole, waiting on the snake while everybody else slept. Sitting on the sofa, leaning back, waiting on him to come back in. Because I put these glue traps there, and I knew when he came across that trap, he was through. But I caught a mouse and not the snake. So the next day I sat there all day thinking about it, waiting on him to come back in, just waiting patiently, sitting on the sofa. He never came, so I had to call somebody else to take care of this problem. They came and fixed the problem. See, he came in uninvited. He came in unaware, but he was confronted. How long are we going to sit idly by and watch them destroy ministries with that snake sitting in the midst of them, and nobody even pays it attention? Nobody knows anything about it. How is it that this enemy infiltrated our Father's house? Think about it. They were invited. Because, see, we do open the doors of the church and we invite, because that's what we're supposed to do. But that's not the issue, that we opened the doors of the church and they came in. The Bible says that they crept in unaware. Unaware. So that means no one had a discerning spirit in the entire house that you didn't see the snake or feel his presence when he crept in. No one noticed. No one paid attention that they're sitting on auxiliaries here and there causing problems, and they sit by, and they don't do it outright, but it's subtle. It's subtle. Over a period of time, Satan subtly guides his way through your family, guides his way into your job. Subtly, he moves up the ranks. Subtly, not turning over tables, not throwing everything, not making a big fuss, not snatching his authority, but he subtly circumvents the system. And when you realize that he's there, one or two things going to happen. Either you're going to allow him to bed down, or you're going to have to go or get rid of him. Those things are going to happen. See, but no one was discreet. No one was discerning in the spirit. None. Now they run everything, and they are placed in every place. See, in the book of Jude, it says in the last days that they will come into the house, and they will strategically place themselves in positions to take you out. It is an act of war going on, but you sitting by, want to speak in tongues and everything, but nobody picks up the weapons to do any fighting. Nobody stands up and proclaim that this is the house that God has given us, and you have to go today. You're going to have to get out of my family. You're going to have to leave my children alone. You don't just aimlessly sit by and do nothing. Nothing. So how did we not see it? We were sleeping on the job. The book of Habakkuk says in chapter 2, verse 2, I will stand my watch and set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. I will stand my watch. Meaning, I'm going to guard God's house like I guard my house. I'm going to not allow the enemy to come in his house as just well as I'm not going to allow him to come in my house. I'm not going to idly by and see him and say, well, okay, he's more than welcome. He's a creature that God created also. No, he has to go. He doesn't pay rent. He doesn't live here. His is not for him. I didn't carve it out for him. God didn't give it to me to protect for him. He has to go. Why? Because he's going to cause problems in the house. He's going to cause problems. He's going to get up in a corner somewhere. He's going to bed down, and then he's going to produce. And when he produces, he starts taking these on this ministry. All he needs is one to think like he thinks. All he needs is one over here to think like he thinks. All he needs to do is to be subtle. For he was angelic at one time. So he was had a way with people. He knows how to connive. It's not going to be forcefully, but subtly. He will turn everyone against everyone. And this one can't stand this one, and this one don't know what they're talking about. When God has placed all of us in here as one body over one house to guide it, to move it together. But we have let the snake in. Now, how do you know when there's a snake in the garden? That's where it gets funny. Let's talk to my young ladies. I understand he dresses nice. He wears Abercrombie and Fitch. I understand he got muscles all over, drive a nice car. But if he's trying to get you into the back seat of the car so you can lower your standards, then that's the snake. Recognize him. Young man, I understand she's hotter than the sun, and when she walk in, everybody stops. But if she's trying to get you to compromise your moral standard, that's a snake. Children, they might seem harmless as friends. They're fun to hang out with. But when they start pulling you in a different direction than the direction that your parents are trying to guide you in, then you are dealing with a snake. You are dealing with a snake at all costs. Now to my couples that are married. I understand that there's a man or a woman at work making advances. You might be telling yourself, well, we're just going through some problems right now. Maybe if we just separate for a minute, we'll be able to fix this problem. Well, let me share something with you. They say absence of Absence from one another makes the heart grow fonder, but absence from one another will also make somebody wonder. So you can separate if you want to. It's best to resolve your problems together where you're close-knitted than apart. See, you can't do that. You can't do it. I happened to, when we were at the old church one Sunday, and I hope my wife doesn't mind. Well, I know she doesn't mind me telling this story. I went to the store one Sunday. The kids wanted ice cream. She told me the kids didn't need ice cream, but hey, they want ice cream. I'm going to get ice cream. So I went and got some ice cream. And this is to my married couples. And as I turned the corner in the store, now those of you who know my wife, I think my wife is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. But I understand what fine and beautiful looks like also before I met my wife. That's how I knew to grab her for me. Okay, now we're together. So when I turned the corner, I saw this lady at the ice cream chest. And being a person, I recognized, whoa, she fine. I saw that. Ain't no sense in playing like I'm too holy that I didn't see that, y'all. So don't y'all act like that either. But anyway, as I turned the corner, she was just what God created. The Bible says he didn't create Eve. It says he formed her, meaning he put something here, something there, shaped it this way, made it so it was appealing to the eye, made it so it was attractive, that when Adam saw it, he liked what he saw. And so as I saw this woman, she had her hair braided back, she had her glasses on, she was nice. She was nice. And so I said to myself, get the ice cream, get out. Recognize that there's a problem over there. Get the ice cream, get out. So as I went to the case, and I stood by the case, now mind you, this is the case. As I stood in front of the case about like this, I'm like, vanilla. And I'm saying it to myself. Let me show you how Satan is. She was to my right. She slid between me and the case, reached in the case, grabbed the ice cream for me and said, here. Now, I know I was a minister, but I'm going to tell you exactly what I said. Lord, get me the hell out of here, please. Because I'm in trouble right now. There's an issue finna happen right now. I see this right now. So I got to move on my own right now. And so as I get back home and I tell my wife, the first thing she said, I told you there ain't need no ice cream in the first place. But being that there's a snake in the midst of the garden, we got to get rid of the snake. He can't stay here. He has to go. So what we have to do is, number one, we have to recognize him when we see him. We can't say, well, it can't be what I thought it was. No, it was just exactly what I thought it was. We can't allow him to speak to us, as he did in Genesis 3, chapter 3, verse 4. We have to turn up the heat before he bears down, as Paul did in chapter 28. And we have to use God's word to rid our lives of him, as Ephesians chapter 5 and 6. And in closing, there was an old man one day walking, and it was cold, freezing outside, and he ran across a snake. And he took the snake that was almost dead, and he bedded down and wrapped the snake up and put him on his chest so the snake would survive. So they slept there the night, and the warmth from the man's body warmed the snake up. And as the snake came to in the morning, he bit the man. And as he went away, the man said, I can't believe you did this to me. I can't believe that you bit me. But the snake kindly turned to the man and looked at him and said, you knew I was a snake when you picked me up.